Hey, this is Mark from Casting Crowns, and you're listening to Dispatch Radio.
Folks, you've heard us talk about the great documentary that's coming out. It's called The Hornet's Nest, and it was the film that the ABC reporters were embedded in Afghanistan alongside our brave soldiers, and they were able to use this footage to really bring to life and capture the reality of the conflict over there. And, we've spoken to a couple of representatives of this film. We now have with us Pastor Joe Martin, who's going to give us some more insight on that. And Pastor, how are you?
I'm doing good this morning. Thank you.
All right. And Pastor Martin is part of Trinity Church there in Dallas, Texas. He was able to screen the film already and give us a little bit of an insight. And Pastor, what was the first impression that you had that you came away with after seeing The Hornet's Nest?
Well, Brandon, the first thing, once you get to the end of The Hornet's Nest, it really takes literally 30 minutes to an hour just to recover. It is so impacting. It's such a powerful story and really packed with biblical truth. Not in the sense that it's being preached or that it's being shared in some way, but really in the sense of people by example laying their lives down for their brothers in a combat situation. And it's very, very moving and very inspiring in the sense that it really creates in you a desire to make your life count for something. It's a powerful documentary.
I think we spoke to Captain Ty. He said, basically, you're going to get everything except for the smells. Is that pretty much a good assessment of how real this is?
I had my brother-in-law was a combat vet, and I had a chance to talk to several of these guys who were actually in the movie. And they all said the very same thing. He said, that is as close to reality as you can get without actually being there. And, even the sound, you can hear the bullets as they whirl by these guys. And just the sound of that, I've never heard recreated in any kind of sound effect or movie or anything. It's pretty powerful.
The soldiers there, of course, are just laying down their lives and put into really just, shocking scenarios and come to head with just some really unwinnable situations at one point in the film. And what was sort of the most shocking aspect of that when you saw the film?
Well, I tell you, my first thought was I was, even though I have been around combat vets really most of my life, my dad, my uncle, my cousin, you just don't realize what our country calls these guys to. And the second thing, I know you probably your listeners know this, but I mean there are no actors in this film. These are all guys on the front line. These are real bullets. This is real action that's going on here. And so one of the things I think that was really powerful for me was the story in this documentary of a young captain named Kevin Mott. And Kevin was on his third tour of duty, combat duty. And during his deployment, he was shot in the head and received a traumatic brain injury. He fell 400 feet down a cliff, an embankment, and broke his back in 4 places. He broke his ankle. He tore the scalp off the top of his head, et cetera, et cetera. And he did his rehab back in the States, and 6 months later, he's out there on the front line again with his troops. And there's one scene that's particularly powerful when he goes down for a rescue. He points out 3 of his guys. He says, "We're going," and tell them where they're going. He said, "Now follow me," and off they run into a hail of bullets. And I was overtaken really by the bravery and the courage of that young man.
A couple of points that Pastor Martin's really getting here, too, as we're discussing The Hornet's Nest, folks, is, number one, the brutality of this film. It is rated R for a reason. It is a very intense and realistic film. But at the same time, that's a very valuable tool and a teaching mechanism that we can use to educate the public, our young people, as they think about enlisting, and as well as, just the history lesson of what's actually happened in Afghanistan. But more to the point of just the heroics of the film, to have someone who has had basically life-changing and in some ways life-ending, as you know it, injuries like Kevin had, yet to go back for another tour, to go back and to be in the front lines and then to step forward in a leadership role to lead people back in harm's way beyond our comprehension. I mean, Pastor, we live in kind of a quiet life. You and I get up, we go to work, we go to our church services, I teach Bible study, you're doing sermons. How do we even get our head around what's happening on the other side of the globe?
Well, Brandon, we can't, and that's one of the problems is that these guys come back, after being in this kind of combat situation, and it is impossible for them to reconnect with the real world outside of a combat world without really help from friends, family, and most importantly, the Lord. And so for us to really understand it, I don't think we can. But seeing this movie helps you get in touch with what they have to deal with traumatically. And it really is helpful, I think, for all. I hope I made this statement. Wish every adult in America could see this film because it's powerful.
I know we have a lot of folks that are readers there in the Texas area, Texas and Oklahoma. This film breaks wide on Memorial Day, so you'll be able to see it in a lot of other cities around the country. And Pastor Martin, let's shift a little bit because a lot of Christians don't like to see rated R films anyway. But let's talk about what is in this for the Christian viewer. What are they going to come away with that they're not going to have when they go in?
Well, I think number one is they're going to have an awareness. I think we as Christians sometimes we get into our little Christian world and we're sort of unaware of what's going on in our neighborhood, in our communities, and in the world at large. And so I think the first thing is you're going to come away with an awareness, really what's going on in the world and what's going on with our young men who've been called to defend and protect our freedom. So that's the first thing they're going to come away with. The second thing I think they're going to come away with is they're going to be inspired, I think, and proud to be American. And I think that's a very positive thing, not to the point of we're exclusive and better than the rest of the world, but just of the character of our young people is going to make them proud to be Americans. It's going to inspire them, thirdly, I think, to make their life count, that there's people out there laying their life down so that we can stay free. So what are we doing with our life here to make it count? And so those three things, for sure, I think they're going to come away with.
I tell you, it sounds like just such an amazing experience that I just hope folks don't want to miss out on. And, folks, we're going to try to do our best to promote the film. We'll link the trailer as well to this interview so you can catch that and really kind of see the value in screening this film for yourself, taking the next level of your knowledge base and your experiences to better understand the conflict in Afghanistan and abroad. And, Pastor Martin, tell folks a little bit more about your church and where they can find out more about what you're doing as well.
Yes, we're located in the uptown area of Dallas, Texas. That's just a little north of downtown Dallas. We are a contemporary church, lots of people of all ages, but lots of young people. And we have, of course, a website where you can catch us at www.trinitydallas.com. And our services are live streamed every Sunday morning. So if they want to catch us via live stream, they can do that by access to our webpage.
All right, folks, we'll link to that, trinitydallas.com. You don't have to travel to Texas if you want to catch a message by Pastor Martin, and you can see that streaming live there in your own home, and maybe even if just one more person catches the service, that's a life-changing thing that can come away from today's talk. And, folks, The Hornet's Nest, it's a great film, a great documentary that's really capturing just the essence of our amazing soldier sacrifice overseas in Afghanistan and the traumatic experiences that for those of us that are leading normal day lives, we can barely get our head around even what they're talking about. And this film does such an amazing job of capturing that. So, Pastor Martin, thank you again so much for fitting us into your busy schedule as we look forward to finding out more about the Hornet's Nest.
Brandon, thank you for having me this morning, and God bless you, and the Lord bless your listeners this morning.
Thank you, Pastor. God bless.